Hey everybody, Sean here from VidGamiac.com. Here we are today starting the Left Behind update for Dead by Daylight, and we're going for the big one, the taking one for the team achievement. This one is going to be done from the survivor side. It is to take a protection hit for a recently unhooked survivor, a total of 250 times. Now, before we get started, it's going to be very important to explain what exactly counts for the achievement. Whenever the killer places one of your teammates on a hook, what you can do is you can go up to them on the hook and then hold right bumper to unhook them. If the killer still happens to be nearby, they are going to most likely attack either one of you, and what you basically want to do is you want to make sure that you are the one that takes that hit. So there's going to be two things that the game is going to consider whether or not this hit is going to count for the achievement. The first one is whether or not it is a protection hit. A protection hit is you taking a hit in front of a survivor within at least 10 meters. So your fellow teammate is going to have to be pretty close in order for you to get the protection hit. You are going to know that the hit is going to be a protection hit by the protection designation in the upper right. The other thing the game is going to consider for the achievement is if the protection hit comes right after someone is unhooked. So you're going to have a pretty short window after someone gets pulled off of a hook in order to take the hit. So make sure you do keep that in mind. It's going to be immediately after they get pulled off of the hook. Now, you don't necessarily have to be the person that pulls the teammate off of the hook. It could be any one of the other teammates. You just have to be the one that takes the protection hit. However, if you are going for the protection hit, you have better control of when you take it if you are the one that does do the unhook. So basically, to sum up this whole section, the two things you want to consider whenever going for a protection hit is they need to happen right after you pull someone off of the hook, and they also need to happen when that person is still within your immediate vicinity. So now that we got the ground rules out of the way, it's time to start explaining how we're going to tackle this long grind. So as mentioned before, you can use whatever survivor you want for this, and you can get started on this whenever you want. However, if you are looking for a build specifically designed to get this achievement, this is what I'm going to recommend. First off, I'm going to recommend Deliverance, which is going to be one of Adam's perks from the Shattered Bloodline update. Then I'm going to recommend Decisive Strike, which is going to be one of Laurie's perks from the Halloween DLC. And then finally, I am going to recommend two perks from Claudette, who is included in the base game. You want to run Self-Care and Botany Knowledge. If you can get all four of these perks on one survivor, that's going to be the best build in terms of tackling the grind that is this achievement. So make sure you try to get those and try to rank them all the way up to tier 3, and that way you can get the most out of your perks. So make sure you get into the game, and we're going to start the long grind. So the reason this achievement is going to be so grindy is because it calls for a ridiculous amount of protection hits. You are going to have to do 250 in total, but because they have to take place after a rescue from a hook, you are only going to have the potential of getting a maximum of 6 per game. But also, since you have your own hook states to worry about, you are more likely than not maybe going to get a total of 2 per game. So doing the math, it's going to take an absurd amount of time to get all the way up to 250 and several games to get this one done. So using the aforementioned build, this is going to be the strategy I recommend to get the most out of any one particular game. You want to start up the game and you want to make sure you play rather defensively, making sure you avoid the killer at all costs and making sure that one of your teammates is going to be the first to engage the killer. Make sure you pay attention to when the killer downs them. You should get a read on where both of them are, and then what you want to do is you want to make sure you quickly spring into action. You want to make sure you quickly sprint over to where the killer is going to most likely hook them. As soon as the killer pops your teammate on the hook, what you want to do is you want to make sure you try to bait the killer into doing a normal attack. Best case scenario is if you can get the killer to miss. However, if you are at full health, you can take the initial hit. What you basically want to happen here is you want to make sure that when you do go in for the unhook, the killer is going to be on a cooldown from a normal attack. The reason for that is if the killer tries to come in and interrupts you while you are trying to unhook a teammate, they're going to grab you, which will obviously mess things up. So while the killer is trying to recover from their basic attack, what you want to do is you want to make sure you get your hook rescue in, and then as soon as you pull the teammate off of the hook, you want to make sure you place yourself between them and the killer. The killer is going to try to swing again, and then this is going to be the hit you want to take, and that's what's going to count as a protection hit. Now, if the killer does end up downing you, what's going to more likely happen than not is they're going to try to pop you on the hook. Hopefully your teammate was smart enough to get away safely, and if they were, you should have the Deliverance perk kick in. So what Deliverance is going to allow you to do is you should get a free hook escape on your first hook state if you were able to successfully get a safe hook rescue. So make sure you free yourself from the hook, and then which one of these want to make sure you try to run to safety. A downside with Deliverance is you're going to have the broken status put on you, so you aren't going to be able to heal for a while. So make sure you go back to playing defensively until that expires, and as soon as you are able to heal yourself, make sure you use your self-care perk in order to pick yourself up. Self-care, like the name implies, is going to allow you to heal yourself. However, it is going to be way slower than having someone else heal you. Thankfully, this is where botany knowledge is going to come in handy. Botany knowledge is basically going to speed up any of your healing actions, so you are able to heal way faster thanks to it. Do keep in mind it's still going to be slower than having someone else heal you, so if you do have an opportunity of having another teammate heal you, make sure you take that up instead of trying to heal yourself. Regardless, whenever you are back to full health, make sure you go back on the defensive and make sure you keep an eye out for another opportunity to try to rush in and get a hook rescue and a protection hit to go along with it. So again, just hang back until the killer manages to down another teammate or the same teammate. Then you're going to want to sprint in, and then once the killer pops that teammate on the hook, which one you just want to make sure you rush in, make sure you take that first hit if necessary, and then make sure you quickly try to pull them off of the hook. Then make sure you pop yourself between them and the killer, make sure the killer hits you and you get that protection hit. If you are lucky and don't have the killer down you from the protection hit, you want to make sure you make your grand escape, but more likely than not, the killer is going to pop you on the hook for the second time. This is where you are going to have to rely on your teammates, so hopefully someone does come in to rescue you since you cannot use Deliverance on the second hook state or later, unfortunately. So someone is going to have to come in to pull you down. Once you get pulled down from this hook state, though, more likely than not, the killer is going to try to be cheap and try to re-down you. If this happens within a certain window of you coming down from the hook, what you can do is you can take advantage of our second perk, which is going to be Decisive Strike. So the way Decisive Strike is going to work is you're going to have a window right after escaping the hook, either you escaping the hook by yourself or having a teammate pull you down. If the killer happens to pick you up within this window, you are going to have a little quick time event, and if you succeed at this quick time event, you are able to break free out of the killer's grasp. So if you find yourself still within the killer's vicinity after coming off of the hook, what you can do is you can bait them to try to pick you up, and then you can use Decisive Strike to get another escape. And then, of course, you can try to pick yourself back up to full health, and then look for more opportunities to get protection hits. Obviously, this achievement is going to be cumulative and is going to take several games to do because we are going to need 250. Not every game is going to go perfect according to our strategy, so make sure you just take whatever you can get. The strategy is going to be more or less your basic outline to get the most out of any one particular game. However, of course, you are going to have bad moments from time to time, so feel free to deviate away from the strategy if it does seem necessary to, and just keep looking for moments to get protection hits, and just keep going for it until you finally get 250. So you're going to need a ton of patience for this one. It's definitely going to be a gradual achievement that you'll work on slowly but eventually. But once you finally manage to hit that 250, you should be good for the achievement. So here we are after the long grind on our last game. We are going to go in and rescue our last teammate. Then we're going to take our last protection hit. And then once we have it, we should be at 250 and we should finally get our achievement. So it should pop shortly thereafter. Unfortunately, it's only going to be worth 10 gamer score, but there it is. And that's all there is to it.